Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to live stream with me, Dr. Aparajita Jeetagunta. I am a diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness coach, as well as a leadership development coach and strategist and consultant. And today, after this long weekend and after we've spent time with our family and loved ones, after a holiday weekend, I want to talk about the conditioning of toxicity. I hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend. I hope everyone shopped a lot, and I hope everyone had a restful and reflective time. For me, it was definitely very reflective. I spent a ton of time understanding the history of this Thanksgiving holiday, as well as participating in several webinars and learning sessions led by Native American activists and Native American elders so that I could better understand the real history behind the Thanksgiving holiday. And it was actually in the course of that I started thinking about how much all of us as people have been conditioned to tolerate toxicity and toxic relationships in our lives. And most importantly, how much all of us have been conditioned to accept our own toxic relationship with ourselves. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it today. After we come out of the holidays, I know this is probably like a little bit of a heavy topic, but our work with ourselves, our development and our growth never stops, right? And so that's really why I wanted to talk about it today, because I think it's the perfect time to talk about this as we leave one holiday celebration and go into a larger one towards the end of the year. We still have about the next 3 to 4 weeks to work on treating ourselves better and treating other people better, so that our relationships around those dinner tables at our families, even through COVID, even if it's just Zoom calls, so that they are healthier. And more importantly, so that we can establish a healthy relationship with us, with ourselves, as we move forward into 2021 and as we kind of get out of this fog and this haze of everything that 2020 has thrown at us. So with that being said, if you are watching this live, please comment and let me know if you have any questions regarding everything I'm going to talk about with toxicity today, and especially about how we've accepted being toxic to ourselves. And if you're watching this later, please go ahead and still put it in the comments and I will get to them. And so let's get right into it. One of the big things that came out for me, through this weekend and through all of these learning sessions that I did, and as I was kind of following the news feeds on LinkedIn, was this real sense of people not necessarily coming out and saying it, although in some cases they were, but this real sense of, oh, get over it. Get over yourself. We just want to have fun. Don't turn this into anything bigger than it's supposed to be. Get over it, right? And in the learning session that I had with, put together by Tanya Rodriguez, who is an amazing, amazing Native American healer and activist, she brought in some Native American elders. And one of the things we grappled with there is this idea of get over it, right? We tell ourselves to get over things so much. Other people tell us to get over things so much. And what is the cost of that? What are we getting over? And what are we perpetuating when we don't allow ourselves to understand, appreciate, and acknowledge the weight of an experience? in our own lives. For instance, how many times have you, me, all of us, not gotten the results that we've wanted to, or somebody treated us maybe not overtly badly, but somebody treated us in a way that made us feel a way where we knew it wasn't right, right? And or a family member kind of like irritated us because of different political ideologies, or because they don't believe in human rights and you do. And when you try to have a discussion about it and you get passionate about it, this is something that you truly, truly believe in, or you go in thinking that you truly, truly believe in it. And you're told, oh, get over it. Get over it. This is not important. This, you're making a big deal out of nothing. How many times have we heard that? Right? I know I've heard it so many times over the course of my life, when I've said something is not fair, when I've said I didn't like doing something, when I said something was draining me, when I didn't feel like I was getting the learning that I needed. I know that in grad school for me, that was an experience where I felt that what I wanted to study wasn't being considered important. And I was getting all of this kind of flack for wanting to study something that was not mainstream social psychology, because I wanted to study Indian Americans, which when I was in grad school at that time was a very, very rare field of study, especially out of social psychology. And when I tried to say, well, that's not, I understand that this is mainstream, but Indian Americans are a part of mainstream too. And we need to, as there are more Indian Americans growing in this country, we need to really study this population. And I was told that I was being biased, and I was told to get over it. Another example of toxicity, that's toxicity, by the way, being told to get over it. Because if you think about it, again, what are you supposed to get over? Your own experience. So you are supposed to change your narrative to make somebody else feel comfortable. Does that sound right to you? And oftentimes, this somebody is you. This somebody is you with all of the expectations of society put on you. And my dogs are chiming in too right now. But with all of the expectations of society put on you. So if you feel like you've just faced a microaggression at your work, right? Oh, but you're, really, really smart for having a traumatic brain injury. You talk so normally for having a traumatic brain injury. You talk so you don't have any accent for being an Indian immigrant. These are couched as compliments, and often we do that to ourselves too. Wow, I didn't do so badly considering I stink at math. Or, wow, I was able to build this web page even though I am completely not tech savvy. Right? We put these qualifications, we put those disclaimers, we put those conditions on our own growth, on our capabilities, on our self-efficacy, which is how much we believe we can actually do something. And in doing that, we are being toxic with ourselves, right? Here's another glaring example that I saw on LinkedIn about toxicity. There was a news article about a soccer player, being a woman soccer player, being invited to play with the men's soccer team. Now, the comments on that were straight up violent towards women, about ripping her in half, about how she cannot, hope the rules don't change to make, accommodate a girl, about, truly, truly vile, violent, hostile, despicable, deplorable stuff that I can't even repeat. It's all over LinkedIn and you can go check it out. And the reason I bring that example up to tie it with how we talk and how we accept toxicity in our lives is all of this kind of, oh, you're just a girl, you can't do this, or it's okay to talk to a woman as if she's less than. It's okay to talk to somebody as if they are less than us. That doesn't come out of the ether. That doesn't come out of the abyss. We are taught that over the course of our lives, either because what we see in our immediate environment around us reflects that same kind of thought to where we think it is okay. Or as we grow up, we see these behaviors and they're somehow cool. Those are the cool kids doing it, right? For instance, in high school, a boy walking past a girl and snapping her bra strap. But he's in the popular crowd and he's a jock. So ha ha ha, everyone laughs about it. And it's sort of kind of framed as, oh, if he's mean to you, it means he has a crush on you. I mean, that goes all the way back to second grade even. He's pulling your pigtails because he likes you, sweetheart. Now think about how that conditions a person over when that is the same message that happens over and over and over again, right? That at some point you start accepting this as normal behavior, even though it's not normal at all. It is harmful. It is detrimental. It makes you treat yourself as less than a whole human being over time. Because these kinds of things, they make you think over time, this is okay. I am supposed to be treated this way. And then you start treating yourself that way. And you create this whole self-perpetuating cycle where now, because you're treating yourself that way, you are literally letting other people treat you that way too. So that is the conditioning of toxicity that I'm talking about. Of when we add these conditions, when we say that it's okay for us to see ourselves as less than whole human beings, to subject ourselves to negative self-talk. Oh gosh, I feel so stupid. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I did this. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? When we do that over and over and over again, that's what erodes our confidence. That's what erodes our worth. And the cost of that is huge. Think about how many opportunities you have not pursued because you don't think you're good enough. How much anxiety you have dealt with when you had to go into any sort of proposals or new opportunities or new meetings, meeting new people, going on that first date, whatever it is. How much of your salary have you left on the table because you did not feel strong enough to negotiate? Because you didn't think you were good enough to negotiate, so you just accepted what anybody else gave you. Think about how now we're doing this to ourselves. We've been conditioned by our previous generations who truly didn't know better. That was just the way of life then. It's not an excuse, it's a fact. Yet we continue to perpetuate that in ourselves and in our kids now. So what are we raising our kids to be? Can you imagine all of these men that said this vile stuff about the soccer player? They all have mothers. Whether they have good relationships with their mothers or not, they all have mothers. Many of them have sisters. Most of them have grandparents, cousins. How are they treating these women? How are these women then responding to this treatment? And how is that cycle getting perpetuated? This is what is intergenerational trauma, right? It literally is how we are transmitting the not so great, icky parts of our culture that we actually have an opportunity to change by breaking that cycle with us. And by saying this kind of behavior is no longer okay. I will not treat myself that way, and I will not treat other people that way, and I will not let anybody in my environment treat anybody else that way. This stops with me. The buck stops with me. And that is the foundation of a leader, no matter what space you're in. The buck always stops with you, right? So that is the conditioning of toxicity. That is how we end up devaluing ourselves, and we end up teaching that devaluing, that devaluation, that minimization, that dismissal, that horribly stereotyped treatment, the microaggressions that we face. All of those stem from this conditioning of toxicity that we go through and that we allow ourselves to go through. Because kids are kids. We tell them, we guide them. We tell them, I'm making the rules, so this is how it has to be. So in many ways, kids, we kind of brainwash kids to think that they don't have this personal agency to say, hey, no, stop. You don't get to treat me that way. But what about us as adults? How often do we say that when somebody treats us badly? How often have you said that when somebody has treated you badly? When somebody has minimized you? When you faced a microaggression? More often than not, you just get that anxious feeling. You get that icky feeling on the inside. You feel like you've been slimed on the inside. It affects your whole day, maybe even your whole week or whole month. You toss at night, sleepless. And of course, 3-4 days later, you come up with like a list of a dozen witty comebacks. And then you just you literally facepalm and go, oh, why couldn't I think quick enough in that moment to have this witty comeback for this person who minimized me? And you think that's somehow your fault because you're not quick enough. You're not witty enough. No, because in that moment, your brain went into survival mode and shut down. So those witty comebacks, your brain can't process that information in that time. But of course, as you reflect on it, 3 days later, 4 days later, in my case, like 7 months later, I literally had an experience where, slight tangent, I literally had an experience where somebody made me feel really bad one time. And it bothered me so much that I couldn't let it go. But I didn't stand up for myself. Literally 7 months later, after crafting this multiple variations of this comeback in my head for 7 months, I finally came up with what I thought was like the best comeback I could have come up with, right? And then after that happened, I went in and I saw this person again, and it was like a professional relationship. So that I saw this person again, and I went back and I was like, hey, you know what? I somehow managed to bring this topic up, and I threw that witty comeback at this person. And he literally just looks at me and goes, the hell are you talking about? And I was like, that thing you said 7 months ago. And he's like, well, what did we talk about 7 months ago? I don't even know. Like, how do you expect me to remember something about you from 7 months ago? And if it bothered you that much, why didn't you say something back then? Right? Because again, they didn't know the effect that they had on me. But at the same time, because I didn't stand up for myself, even though I had felt minimized in that. And exactly, Tiffany, I felt I was being, if I'd said something, I felt like, people would kind of take my assertiveness to mean bitchiness or something, or that I'm being overly sensitive, or that I'm turning a little molehill into a mountain. And I just kept quiet. But it bothered me. It affected my psyche. It gave me anxiety. And in doing so, I was beating myself up so much after that fact. And that's toxicity, right? Because that's not self-love. I wasn't giving myself the grace of going through this experience and saying, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay with being minimized. It's okay to not be okay with being marginalized. It's okay to not be okay when you face a microaggression, when somebody tells you to get over it, when somebody tells you to change your narrative to fit their neat little box. It is okay to not be okay. But our society, our social etiquette, our politeness norms, and all of that, they condition us against that. They condition us against ourselves. And the real cost of that is that we don't even see ourselves as whole human beings with so many strengths and even more undeveloped strengths. We see ourselves as weak. We see ourselves as incompetent. We see ourselves as unworthy, unvaluable, not invaluable. Right? And yeah, Sean, self-consciousness is a huge part of being oversensitive. That oversensitivity can actually be mitigated from self-awareness, right? And I know that's where you're going with that, so I want to bring it up because it is extremely important for us to develop this self-awareness of how often we are talking to ourselves as if we're garbage, and to what degree we are treating ourselves as garbage, and to what degree we are letting others treat us as less than. In doing so, we are taking away the core of humanity in us. We're not robots. We're people. We're allowed to feel what we feel. Yet in these moments, because of quote unquote professional standards or because of societal norms or whatever else, we're taught that it's not okay to be human, that it's not okay to get upset when somebody else treats us like garbage, and that if we don't treat ourselves like garbage, we are being vain or selfish or egocentric. No, 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 no. I'm calling BS on all of that because that's toxicity. That's how we've been conditioned. And as adults, we have the brilliant opportunity, especially right now, to cut that part of our culture out, because we are the bearers of culture. Culture doesn't get transmitted on its own. All of these norms, all of these patriarchal ideals, all of these marginalizations, they didn't happen on their own in a vacuum. They happened because people practiced them. Practicing something is a conscious choice. When you practice something enough, yes, it becomes an automatic habit, But no habit starts off automatic. It takes repetition and it takes intention, mindless intention in some cases when it comes to toxicity, right? So we are in this space where we can cut out the toxic parts of our cultural transmission, where we can build the good parts of our culture, the self-efficacy, the competence, the belief in your dreams, the belief in, and this may be kind of like an entrepreneurial ideal, but I truly, truly believe that all of us have an untold number of dreams that we just squash because they don't seem realistic, or because that's not our space, or because, well, everyone has pipe dreams, but let's be realistic. Let's be stable. Let's be secure. Let's pay that bill, right? Paying bills and having dreams are not mutually exclusive. There are so many of us who are living proofs of that. And yes, it takes a certain amount of recognition of your privilege, as well as your struggle, as well as your support systems, to be able to align all of these to work on your dreams and pay your bills. But as long as we perpetuate this toxicity, working on your dreams is only going to be something that is, relegated to the top elite echelons, quote unquote, of society. I'm being very sarcastic there with that echelon stuff, but that's a reality. So how do we break past this conditioning? Self-awareness, self-love, understanding that your mental well-being is at the foundation of it all. That if you want to treat yourself well, that if you want to treat other people well, that if you truly want to be this beacon of change, positive change, if you want to change our culture for the better, if you want to get rid of these norms and ideals that have not been serving us well, that journey starts with you. You becoming a whole person, you making your own invisible visible to yourself. And that means taking a good hard look at how badly you've been treating yourself, giving yourself grace, and making the changes it takes for you to start treating yourself like a whole human being again. That's where it starts. So that's it for me for this one. That's all about the conditioning of toxicity and the real harms that it's causing all of us across all aspects of society. If you like this video, go ahead and like it, comment. Please go subscribe to the YouTube channel at AJ Rao LLC. We are trying to build that channel. So if you like the content I'm producing, your little bit of help will help us grow and give you better content. So please don't forget to subscribe, and you know how to get in touch with me on social media. I'm all over the place. If you want to have a deeper conversation about this, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be back on Friday with another live stream. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I hope you manifest all the self-love you need this week to realize that you are enough. You are worthy enough. You are good enough, and you can be whomever you want to be when you start treating yourself well. All right. See you Friday. Bye.